pretty hard for me to see a video on my recommended called smoke detectors and then a big image of a black person in the thumbnail and not click this shit. Let's watch a video about smoke detectors, boys. Let's get into it.
Guess the chicken for $100.
Ooh, hold on. That's chaos.
Do they not hear it? Or how is this a universal thing that always happens? Like, the moment I hear a beep, I go to CVS, I get new batteries, and I put that shit in. How the fuck, like, how is it always there? How are we always hearing the chirping?
Let's see. That's Publix chicken. Popeyes.
There ain't no way you can tell the chicken by the smell and by the feel. This is levels of black magic I did not realize were attainable by mere mortals.
This one is for sure Popeyes.
The joke is that he can see through the bottom of the blindfold. And if you didn't notice that, then it might be the magician's sleight of hand of distracting you with the ceiling bird that's in the background. That being said, welcome to Stereotypes. And on that note, we have a TikTok sociologist here who got 3 million views for explaining the reasoning behind the smoke detector phenomenon.
Okay. Thank you. I would really like to understand this because I don't get it. This shit drives me insane. I'm a guy who's very prone to headaches. Hearing that chirp a single time, I'm sprinting. I'm ripping that shit out of the fucking socket.
Have you ever thought about how we came to associate the beep of a dying fire alarm with being broke?
Really? Because
No, it's with being black.
Always associated people not being able to replace a battery with being stupid and lazy.
Where's the excuse me?
You see what I mean about the quality of person who lets those things go off incessantly? Fair. But I guess I'm wrong. Not having about $3.50 to quiet the noise of a safety device that's designed to piss you off until you fix it is really just about being born into oppressive situations, and the generational trauma from that has caused them to become immune to the sound.
I'm a sociologist, and sociology is the study of society and human behavior in social context. One of my 5 major focuses is the biopsychosocial axis, or somatics, and the social is how our lived experiences are, at least in part, the responsibility of someone else and by.
Wait, is this guy really about to blame slavery on why black people don't change their smoke alarms? There's no way that this is going to be another guy blaming slavery for this shit, right?
Vice versa.
Holy shit, man, we get it. You've read a book before. This is Kaizen Nat in like 3 years.
Her love for me goes beyond all reasons and does not come from a place of reciprocity. Reciprocity, yes.
The sad...
Once again, I want to say, I will never shit on a man for trying to improve himself. Good for Kai for trying to lock the fuck in and grow. I'm not going to shit on that. I will never shit on a fat man in the gym. Absolutely not.
Thing is that simply being willing to look up a word that he didn't know puts him ahead of most college English majors according to this literacy study.
Dude, the average literacy level and reading and writing levels of people on the internet have become so piss poor that it's causing me to stroke out when I try to read these abominations of paragraphs that people attempt to write in human English, where it makes me think that I'm retarded when I can't understand when people's like grammatical punctuation and spelling and grammar errors are just through the roof. It makes me feel like my brain is exploding. Like, the fact that our country doesn't even have an average of an 8th grade reading and writing level is insane. It's nuts.
But let me translate.
For real, on a cap, what is it? Keep it a stack, no cap, for real. Whatever the fuck the AAVE is.
For all the people who didn't waste time taking college classes in a field that is largely considered to be a joke these days.
Yep.
Essentially, the sociology...
Also, all college does is just brainwash you into being a retarded liberal. That's all it does. And then it gets you romantically interested in a chick who's probably also retarded as well.
You guys said, if you're too lazy to change a battery, that's the fault of society, not yours.
Today I want to talk about the prefrontal cortex. In order to identify the relationship between beeping fire alarms, being broke, and the prefrontal cortex, we need to understand what the prefrontal cortex is. But the prefrontal cortex also has a role in governing executive function. And executive function is many things, but I mostly identify it as the ability to identify, initiate, follow through on, and complete a task.
Bro.
This guy watches Hassan 1,000,000% to just say a bunch of incoherent garbage to confuse and daze their audience into believing that they just made a good point. No, bro. Black people just need to stop being lazy and change their fire alarm. It's really that easy. It's not because of slavery. Holy shit.
Oh, it's not that complicated. You open up the smoke detector, take the battery out, get a new battery, and put the new battery in. And if you're too ignorant of how electronics operate to figure that out by yourself, then there are like a million YouTube shorts that will teach you how to do that in like a minute. I mean, for how ridiculously easy this is, it is insane how many black people I've covered on this channel who have beeping smoke detectors go off in the background. For those of you who are regular viewers, I don't go out and Google like 500 videos of black people just to find the one person who has a ceiling bird chirping in the background.
It's like everyone, bro. It's crazy to me. Now, that being said, the one time I struggled to remove my fire alarm was because I had to go out and buy a ladder to get to my ceiling. Because if you live in Texas, they have very high ceilings. That is the only time I've let a fire alarm go off for more than like a week.
When I cover people like that rapper Dank Damas who sued Lyft because she was too fat to fit into a normal-sized car, it's just in the video of her talking about the event.
I'm outside and you pulling off on me, bitch. I don't give a fuck if you gave me my fucking money.
She's obese because of slavery, by the way.
Be back.
There's a reason why black people get ridiculed for this. There's a reason why other black people are ridiculing black people for this.
And I just really feel like I deserve this job. And if there's one thing about me, if there's something that needs to be fixed, I will fix it.
I'm just sitting here waiting for this guy who's writing his doctoral thesis on smoke alarms to call me a racist for criticizing black culture.
Yep.
Listen the fuck up, white people. Every other race is more racist than you. You don't believe me? Ask a black person what they think about a Chinese guy.
This is facts, by the way. White people are incredible. White people are kind. I would say that white people are the kindest race. I would say that white are the most supreme. No, white people are great, man. Everybody acts like they're villains, but they're just good people, bro. They genuinely are good people.
Ask a Jew what they think about black people. Ask an Indian what they think about Mexicans.
Ask a Japanese person what they think about the Chinese. Actually, you don't have to. They'll just tell you. So miss me with the racism bullshit. It's current year, and everyone's done with getting called racist for criticizing the behavior of anyone who isn't white. Anyway, let's get back to why the African-American community can't figure out how batteries work.
One of the most common circumstances in which we can identify a dysregulated prefrontal cortex and by extension an inhibited capacity for executive functioning is in people with an ADHD diagnosis. ADHD is characterized by a lot of things, but chief among them, the ability to identify, initiate, follow through on, and
Among Us mentioned.
complete tasks. This is also why adults with ADHD can have a hard time being on time to things. Because if the prefrontal cortex is not firing the way it's supposed to, it's just not firing. And no amount of yelling or frustration or cutting people off is going to change that.
Let me just get ChatGPT to translate that last segment, and he's saying that black people are late all the time because of biology. Well, that sounds kind of racist, but whatever. Now, I know he didn't say black people, but notice how he's only covering black stereotypes as he uses his college degree to continuously make excuses for the problem instead of providing solutions.
There's a reason why BPT is one of the most widely recognized vernacular acronyms that you can say. BPT, Black People Time, because black people do always be late. I would know. I'm 22% black.
There are a lot of biopsychosocial phenomena that correspond with the dysregulation of the prefrontal cortex or other parts of the brain, like anxiety and depression, but also acute and chronic stress and trauma. And
I will say, I've never met a black person with anxiety, ever. I don't believe I've ever met one. That's very interesting to think about. I wonder why that is.
those are the ones that I kind of want to focus on, especially because the definitions of stress and trauma and what constitutes something that is stressful or traumatic isn't really up to you or somebody else. What does is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis and the sympathoadrenal medullary axis, which are structures within the brain that govern our stress responses.
Holy shit, like this dude is trying so hard to sound smart, but when you can't just speak normal, understandable, layman English, you are actually just retarded.
They identify something that constitutes stress. They release stress hormones. They release cortisol. They release adrenaline, norepinephrine, noradrenaline. And in circumstances where there are continual stressors that they can identify, they are releasing that on a loop. They're releasing it too frequently, and this overwhelms the brain and dysregulates its traditional functions.
My God, enough with the SAT words. Speak normally. If I wanted to watch someone masturbate all over themselves, then I would just go on chat roulette. I can't stand it when people speak like this, because the point is not to effectively communicate an idea. The point is to make people think you're smart. Look, he even pulls out a book to read, which I'm sure that decision had nothing to do with another negative stereotype about black culture. But you know what? I do think it's fine to use specific or esoteric terminology when you're talking to your colleagues who are knowledgeable in that field. For example, if you want to spend time talking about neurotransmitters with your friends who are psychology majors, I think that's great and useful. But when people speak like this to general audiences, quite honestly,
It makes you look like an idiot because you are the one who are failing to you're failing to communicate your words in an effective manner for everyone to understand them. It is not on the general public to reach a level to hear those words because a normal person has no need to understand those words. So if you are too retarded to understand that you need to speak in layman's, a language that everybody understands, that people understand what you're saying, because if people aren't understanding what you're saying, you might as well be speaking Ebonics or fucking Spanish or German. You need to be speaking human English that people understand at a fundamental level. Otherwise, there was no reason to say what you said.
Honestly, I think it's pretentious. I think it's done to make the speaker look good at the expense of making the audience feel stupid.
Yes.
And most importantly, I have yet to see a person who speaks like this to general audiences.
And the worst thing is, I understand what he's saying, but I know that it's retarded how pretentious he is speaking.
He wasn't doing that to hide the fact that he is either saying nothing of importance or hide the fact that his argument is retarded. Because certainly not being able to simplify his talking points so that regular people can follow along is a sign that he doesn't understand them that well.
Now, there are countless studies, many of which I draw on for my own research, that link the lived experience of low income or impoverished socioeconomic status with deviations in longitudinal adolescent neurological development.
I want you to look at this, chat. And this guy just said this and thought that he was spitting. Deviations in longitudinal adolescent neurological development. So to translate what he's saying, differences in the growth of a young person's brain development on a up and down scale is what he's attempting to say. But what he said was deviations in longitudinal adolescent neurological development, which just makes you sound retarded. Yes, I understand what he's saying, but the way that he's saying it is beyond pretentious, attempting to compensate for probably a sub 67 IQ human being.
Which is just adolescent neurological development over time and well into adulthood.
I have longitudinal studies on the lived experiences of the adolescent trauma response to the intricate modalities of semi-hardwired electronic warning devices. Okay, where are the studies then? It's a VOD. Show them. Put them on screen as B-roll. You know how to use a video editor, right? 12-year-olds can figure that out. I mean, you're going to read a book and use all those $10 words, but you're incapable of bringing up a study to help confirm your hypothesis about smoke detectors? Is it ever a shock how these people are required to cite sources on their college papers or risk getting expelled, but they can't put a source in a video to save their life? And the crazy thing here is not the fact that this video got millions of views. The crazy thing is all the people in the comments who are acting like this guy is the second coming of Jesus for using a bunch of technical jargon to say that it's not your fault if you're too stupid to change a battery. This guy is like the human equivalent to Duolingo. That app will waste tons of your time making you think that you're learning Japanese without actually teaching you anything significant outside of a few colors and how to say hello. There's no bigger indicator that someone will never get past beginner level at a language than them saying that they study with Duolingo. So this is like the TikTok influencer version of that. And by the way, for me, the smoke detector thing is not about black people. That just happens to be the internet stereotype.
The African ceiling bird. It calls and is ignored.
I wasn't even aware of it until I started using Twitter, but my dislike for people not being able to change their smoke alarm batteries comes from listening to years of a love, sex, and relationships radio call-in show called Loveline with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. It was a running bit on the show to ridicule every caller who had their smoke detector beeping in the background.
My question is it okay if you're like tired of hearing about it, about...
Oh my God.
Like,
first call of the night.
Smoke detector, huh?
Bro, did you hear that little chirping sound?
You can hear it?
We're just glad to know that you can hear it.
It's crazy because I'm the same guy. If in Discord I hear that shit go off, I immediately say, bitch, get up. And they say, you can hear that? Yeah, and I know you can't do it. Well, I just got used to it. Why? Why did you get used to it? What is the purpose of getting used to it? Holy shit.
TV is still on, too. You're tired of hearing about 9/11?
Yes, and I just want to know, is it okay? Like,
most people... There we go again.
There it is.
How do you live with that thing chirping in the background? It's hard to have
You sort of just learn to tune in.
Oh, there's one in another room going off. Did you hear that?
You can hear.
You've got two separate smoke detectors that are low on batteries?
There's like one in each room.
And they're all chirping?
Yeah.
She has a choir of African ceiling birds, man. And she still won't change that shit.
That would bother a reptile.
I don't even think 2 is the record. Actual Justice Warrior did a video on this where he brought up the interview of that black girl who smacked the girl on the back of the head with a baton during a race. She had like 8 smoke detectors going off the entire time. I can't believe the reporter didn't just hit the silence button so they could do the interview in peace. But that's not why I'm bringing up Actual Justice Warrior's video. I'm bringing it up because of an interesting comment about fatherlessness that was written by a viewer that I think is confirmed by the Loveline episode.
Now that's in your bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at night,
It keeps going.
you go to bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Who do you live with, by
Can't do it. If smoke alarm's going off, I cannot go to sleep.
the way?
My mom.
This is crazy.
Interesting phrasing. I would love to see a study on the correlation between single parenthood and the proclivity to have a beeping smoke alarm in the house. As for the PhD candidate, I hate it when people just sit and complain and don't provide solutions or search for solutions to the problems that they speak about. Fortunately, in my opinion, it is none other than other black people who have to live around people who can't change a battery, who are the most disgusted by that behavior.
People have black fatigue, not because they hate black people because they're black. They have black fatigue because of how people act, how black people poorly represent themselves and carry themselves within society.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I think Andre is so pissed. Black people gotta be so tired of other black people making them look bad, bro. You know, that's gotta be so, it's like women in gaming, bro. Women gotta be so tired of all these women making women look bad in video games. Guys, I'm gonna tell you something you may not think that I believe. Not all women are bad, right? A lot of women, the majority of women are good. The problem is the bad women have the microphones. That's the problem.
Problems that we have, we
Sorry,
can
the
blame ourselves
megaphones.
for. But we'd rather sit back and blame the white man for it. That's why people are tired of dealing with black people, because there's no positive solution. There's no productiveness of black people today in America. Nobody today hates black people because black people exist. Nobody has a hatred of black people because black people are black. People have a disdain for black behavior. And guess what? We're judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin today.
You see how he was able to speak plainly in a way that's easy to understand without trying to insult you by flexing how many SAT words he's memorized?
Yeah, he must be dumb because he didn't say 80 big words. He didn't say enough big words, so he's probably retarded. Why didn't he say all these dictionary words like that other feller? I don't understand.
You know what's also great about this video? Unlike our sociology student, this guy actually provides 5 minutes of solutions to the problem instead of 8 minutes of excuses.
So how do we stop people from having black fatigue? How do we change this? How do we...
That is the biggest issues with people, is when people look for excuses to not change the behavior rather than just changing their behavior.
Turn it around. Crime is the biggest issue within the black community. It's we, at the end of the day, we have to deal with the crime and instability that affects our community. That's not the white man coming into the community and shooting up the gas station and the bus stop. That's black people doing it, because that's what? We glorify music of violence. We glorify a culture of instability. We glorify a culture of having no order and no control for ourselves and around us.
My opinion is that the pretentious sociology student doesn't give a shit about black people at all. And let me clarify that by saying that as much as you think people on Twitter are racist, personally, I think the most racist people are people like this guy who pretend to help black people while at the same time doing everything in their power to sabotage them. Your local Twitter Nazi couldn't dream of being so effective at harming the black community that he would get 3 million views for it and tons of public praise for it. So congrats, buddy. Though in reality, I think the people who actually care about you are people like this guy, Andre Williams, who will speak frankly instead of filling your mind with bullshit that doesn't actually lead to a solution. And a very simple solution to help catalyze what this man is saying is just to bring back a culture of shame.
We need to judge people and their poverty, because the same thing that makes people make poor financial decisions so they do not advance economically is likely what is leading them to ignore the smoke detector chirp, which is a lack of long-term thinking and long-term planning.
Right, because the reality is that if you're poor, it's not because of a system of oppression. You have access to infinite good information on your phone. You can learn any skill you want to the highest extent for free, or for very little cost and not that much time investment.
Facts.
So if you're destitute, then it's because you're lazy or because you make
I genuinely believe that. I don't believe there is anybody on this earth who isn't successful if they actually tried to be successful in some regard. Information, education, qualification is at your fucking fingertips. Especially if you're underneath like 25. Like, you have every opportunity to succeed in today's current world. Now, to what level, that's up to you. But lazy people, they're going to get fucked because if you work hard, you can pretty much make it in anything you want to right now.
Bad decisions, or because people
But maybe you're just happily lazy. Up to you.
who would help you don't want to be around you because you're a bad or a toxic person.
Wrapping it up nicely together in the dying fire alarm, if we can start to understand that the lived experience of low income or impoverished socioeconomic statuses can dysregulate the prefrontal cortex such that the simple task of replacing the fire alarm is made difficult, then we can also start to recognize that living with fire alarms that beep and beep and beep until they die is going to be a more common occurrence in places where people of those socioeconomic statuses are concentrated.
Right. Poverty is why they can't go onto their phone and Google how to change a battery. How is this guy's mentality helpful? By the way, for those of you who think that shaming doesn't work, here's a proof of concept.
Something so tragic happened the other day that I was just silent for like 20 minutes because I can't believe that actually just happened. I live in Tokyo, and in Tokyo, everyone keeps to themselves. They don't really say anything to you, even if they're thinking it. But we just did a road trip down to Miyazaki, which is still a city, but it's the countryside. Anyways, this old lady had to have been, I don't know, 70 to 85. And she's walking along behind us. And she does the full rubberneck, looks, right? She pulls this one. She looks at me up and down and goes.
Now you might think, how rude of that Japanese lady. Doesn't she have any manners? Doesn't she know how to treat people appropriately? But here's the thing. The shaming worked.
I didn't think I was fat until I moved to Japan. I wouldn't say I was ever morbidly obese. And obviously I try to love myself at any size, whatever. That's not what this is about. But when I moved to Japan,
Love yourself at any size is the most retarded shit you can ever say to people who are killing themselves by being fat pieces of shit. You should not love yourself at any size. If you are morbidly obese, you need to get to the gym. Otherwise, you are going to die at 40 years old.
I started losing weight. Since I moved here, I've lost about 20 pounds, so that's 11 kilograms. I love
Great. So the shaming worked, and that's why I do it.
living in Japan, but every once in a while, a culture difference just slaps you in the face when you're least expecting it.
Congrats. She's getting healthier because obesity is frowned upon in Japanese culture.
and it should
instead
be.
of it being promoted.
Obesity should be frowned upon in every single culture. Being happily fat is going to kill you. And I will not support someone who is happily fat. I will never say you look perfect the way you are, especially if it means that one of my friends is going to die an early death because they're too lazy to stop eating at McDonald's and going to the fucking gym.
Like it is in American culture. Shaming is effective because people who are resistant to change will not improve themselves unless they're made to suffer, and shaming a negative behavior is a way to cause suffering. Here's the thing though. In general, psychologically speaking, everyone is resistant to change. When it comes to the people who are worse off than others, a major reason they are like that is because they don't have a regular practice of learning new ideas and, more importantly, implementing what they learned as quickly as possible. In fact, if you want to get to higher levels of skill and really upgrade your life, then getting good at doing this all the time is essential. But to put it into more basic terms so that people who aren't used to this can understand, you have to make change easy and break it down into small steps that you can handle until you can handle more complex and quicker changes. So what I'm saying is that if changing a smoke detector battery is too complicated for your brain, and for a lot of people it is because they don't understand electronics, then break it down into steps. The first step is to Google a video. You don't even have to watch it. Just Google it and take a break and watch the video the next day. Then
Take it over a month. First, type it into your search bar. Take a break. I know that was a lot. Secondly, press enter. Take a break. I know that was a lot. Thirdly, click the tab, take a break. Fourth, split the 1 minute video over 3 weeks. Then we put it into action. One step at a day, man.
Day after that, buy the battery, and on the last day, change it. It's simple. And what you'll find as you get used to breaking down an activity into small steps is that not only will changing a battery be easier next time because you already know how to do it, but also each step will sort of have its own momentum. Objects in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon. That's the law of inertia, and I think you'll find that it's easier to continue working if you already are. So how it plays out is that you Google...
People will hear this and be like, why is he being so condescending? Because your ass is retarded, and that's the only way that's viable to actually speak to you.
The video, and in your head you'll say, well, I've already got the video pulled up. It's only a minute. I might as well just watch it. Then you might say, I think I have one of those batteries in a cupboard. I'll just...
Yeah, man, I already have the video up. I might as well watch it. Yeah, it's really that easy, guys. I already have it pulled up. I might as well. We'll get there one day, guys.
Go get it out. and so on and so forth. The idea is that your goal is to replace the smoke detector battery in one sitting, but you genuinely give yourself the option to do just a little bit at a time, and you'll find that more often than not, you'll initiate an activity that you told yourself that you only had to spend a few minutes on, but because of inertia and because it's easier to stay on the same activity than it is to switch to a different one, you'll find yourself having done multiple hours of work. That's actually one of the primary ways that I motivate myself to make videos when I don't want to do anything. Over 90% of the time, it results in accomplishing hours of work instead of the 5 minutes that I initially planned. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next.
Incredible fucking video, bro. I swear to God, Think Before You Sleep makes some of the best videos on the entire internet. Holy fuck. Just change the damn African ceiling birds, man. It ain't hard.